Hey, what's up y'all? It's Cane Pole Willie and we're back. This is the third video of the How to Make a Cane Pole series. In the first video, we went out in the field, cut the bamboo down. Second video, clipped off and sanded down these branches. And in this video, I'm gonna use the heat source right here, my heat gun, and this tool. And we're gonna get this bamboo cone perfectly straight. I'm about to roll the intro. We're about to get into it. Each bamboo shaft is going to have its own natural twists, curves, and kinks. We're going to use this heat gun, concentrate heat on an area that we see that needs bend. And what we're going to do is drop it in our tool here and bend it back. We're going to counter bend it, so if it's curving off to the right, we're going to put it in here and bend it back to the left. And after it cools down, it'll set. And if you bended it back the right way in a right amount, it should bend straight. So that's the theory. We're gonna do that from the bottom here, all the way to the tip, working our way up. That's an overview of the straightening process. Now let's get into the tools. First tool, some work gloves. These are real important on this step because we're gonna be dealing with heat here. And you do not want to burn yourself. This bamboo is going to get really hot, and the tip of this heat gun gets really hot. Pair of gloves definitely needed. Next tool is the heat gun. Really, you can use any heat source. You could use a grill, you could use a candle, you could use a butane torch, you could use an open fire. But I just like the heat gun because it's just got an easy on and off switch. It's got 3 levels and you can adjust the temperature to run off electricity, so that never fails. Just a lot cleaner than a regular fire, and honestly just a lot easier doing it here in my garage, just having that on and off switch. When we heat up the bamboo, we're going to want to give it just a nice light toast, a golden brown, just like a freshly baked biscuit. We're going to hit it with a medium heat, constant movement. I'm going to always be twisting this pole, moving the heat gun back and forth. And the first bend is the most critical. So you're going to want to toast it and immediately pull your straightener out and get to straightening. Not only is it important for getting the bamboo into a malleable state, it's also important for drying it out. We're going to be forcing a lot of moisture and a lot of water out of that pole. And when it dries, it's going to set straight and a lot harder. The next tool is this homemade bamboo straightening tool. The way I found out about these is the Japanese rod makers. I was watching some YouTube videos and that's what they use. I think they call it a Tamegi, T-E-M-E-G-I. I probably butchered the saying of that, but it's basically just a hole cut in here. And you use that as leverage on a heated up section and bend it back. Just like that. I'm going to cover this tool in a bonus video that I'm going to post right after this one. We're going to go over a whole video about how to make this and exactly how it works. So you'll have to be on the lookout for that. But that's the tools. We're going to do a time lapse. We're going to have us a straight pole. This piece of bamboo right here is not actually the one I was showing in the video. I went to straighten that one and unfortunately cracked it. So I had to restart and cut some new bamboo from my neighbor's lawn. At the tip here, you can see we got some zigzags from node to node. It basically changes direction and it'll zig and zag all the way to the tip. We're gonna have to take that out. And at the end here, you can see this kind of overarching bend. We're gonna have to take that out, but this is a pretty straight piece of bamboo overall. I harvested 3 pieces. This was the best of the batch. And really that's one key to getting a straight pole, is to choose a nice straight piece of bamboo to begin with. I'm going to run a time lapse and we're going to talk a little bit about my process and how to take a pole from a green fresh cut bamboo into a nice straight heat treated pole. I like to start right here at the base, the part of the bamboo shaft that is closest to the ground, and this is where the pole is the most thick and the most stubborn, and definitely requires the most elbow grease to get a straight piece. And I like to do each section in 2 different passes. So the first pass I like to do like I'm doing right here, right now, and that is straighten the inner nodes. The little rings and notches on the pole is called the node, and the sections between those is the inner nodes. Your most prominent bends are going to occur right at the node, and there's going to be lesser curves in the inner node. So I like to first apply concentrated heat and straighten about a 3-inch to 4-inch section at a time. And as you can see right here, I'm breaking this section down. This inner node's getting broken down into 2 different parts, just because in the middle here it gets a little bit longer. I've made it past the inner nodes, got all those straightened, and I've switched over to straightening the nodes. And this is where it's all going to start kind of coming together. The inner nodes feel like connections between the bends. Your most prominent and harshest angles are going to be right there at the node, and you're going to have to apply a lot more pressure in a much more specific area. And so that's where kind of the critical bending process happens, right there at the nodes. I like to keep a rag on me too. As you heat the bamboo up, especially a fresh green pole like this, it's gonna sweat, and basically it's gonna expel moisture due to the heating process. But that's a wrap on the first night of straightening. To finish it out, I'm gonna heat a larger section and clamp it into my workbench. It's got 2 clamps, and it basically just brings 2 boards together, and so your most stubborn area, you can put it in there and leave it overnight. This is the next night after work. We flip the pole around, and we are going to straighten the top section. This is the upper third of the pole where it is the thinnest and most delicate. We're going to definitely crank the heat down just a little bit so we're not overcooking things. And just like we did in the previous section, we're going to first straighten the inner nodes, and then next we're going to come back and straighten the nodes. As you can see, I've switched to hand straightening, and this is my preferred method for the more thinner, delicate part of the pole. I just feel like I have a little bit more feel, and I can concentrate a little bit easier the pressure being applied than where the tool is more of a broader curve. But hand straightening is definitely a viable option, and if you don't want to take the time to make the tool and everything, you can get a pole really straight with just your hands. My first summer at cane pole fishing, I didn't even straighten the pole at all. I cut it straight from my buddy's backyard and just let the sun dry it as I fished it. And I mean, it was a little wonky. It had like a corkscrew in it and ended up cracking by the end of the year, but it honestly did just fine. All this straightening is just a little bit extra, and really it's just about making the fishing experience more comfortable. And once you feel the difference in a bent up pole and a perfectly straight pole, it'll all start to make sense. It's such a smoother fishing experience, and really it's just nice to see just a ramrod straight piece of bamboo. It really starts to feel like a fishing pole. My second summer of cane pole fishing, I cut a new batch, got a heat gun, and hand straightened them. I cracked basically all of them, and by the end of just experimenting a ton, I managed to get one okay pole, and it lasted me through the whole summer. Did great. I got it semi-straight, but where I really took off was in the third summer. That's when I got serious about it, started watching videos, and made the tool, and that was really the game changer. That really allowed me to get all the little bends and twists out in kind of a mathematical method, working my way down the pole, doing the inner nodes and nodes, and also utilizing the bench. Clamping it in overnight really pays off and gets rid of a lot of the troublesome spots. And that's exactly what we're doing right now, just clamping it in at the end of a night of straightening. And when you take it back out of there, almost always it's straight. Every batch of bamboo I straighten feels like I learned something new every single time. And I definitely haven't learned it all yet. I picked up the basics from the Japanese rod makers, atlatl dart makers, that's a primitive weapon, and also arrow makers, primitive arrow, bow and arrow guys. But really, you're just gonna have to cut some bamboo down and start working with it and getting the feel for it, because the heating takes a minute to get a feel for and the straightening takes a minute to get a feel for. But after a couple poles, you really got it honed in and kind of know what it's going to do and what you can't do. That's the main thing, is just you're going to have to mess up a few times, make a few mistakes, learn from those, and before you know it, you're going to have this process down. There's really nothing to it. It takes a little patience and a lot of elbow grease. You're going to have to just spend time familiarizing yourself with the bamboo and get a feel for the forces that you are applying onto this natural structure. You have to keep in mind, bamboo is hollow. The walls are very thin. It's all about applying heat, but in the right amount. It's all about applying force, but in the right amount. We're trying to assert our will onto this plant while also maintaining the integrity of the pole and keeping all of its key attributes that make bamboo such a suitable plant for a fishing pole. This may seem like a lot of work, spending all these nights out in a cold garage, spending your time straightening this pole. You could just buy a B&M pole 3-piece that breaks down for $5 at Academy, but a 1-piece bamboo pole you make yourself cannot be beat when it comes to fixed line fishing. One last night of clamping in the benches and we're going to be done with the first round of straightening. After one more round of touch-ups, just going back through and just straightening out any troublesome areas, we've got us a nice straight piece of bamboo. It took a while, I think 5 different sessions over 5 different nights. None of them no longer than an hour, but we've got a straight piece of bamboo and a cane pole ready to fish. On the left is an unstraightened piece of bamboo from the same batch, and on the right is a freshly straightened one. As you can see, definitely a difference. Still not perfect, but looks pretty good. All right, I'm happy with the pole we got. Before we go, I just want to go over one more time the process in real time, kind of sped through in the time lapse. So I'm going to mark off a section, an inner node. We're going to specifically look at exactly how it bends, and then I'm going to show you the process, slow down a little bit, right here before we conclude the video. I've marked a specific area off here at the bottom, in between these 2 black marks I made with a Sharpie. And I'm going to use this specific spot as an example. If you look down here, you can see it curves off to the right pretty dramatically. You're going to spend a lot of time looking down this pole and getting a game plan, because I know with my tool and being left-handed, I can only straighten things to the left. So this is a good example. This bend right here, how it curves to the right, we're going to take that out, and I'm going to show you all. All right, I'm going to click my heat gun on and start slowly rotating it, heating it up. We're not focused on any part of the pole at all except this section right here that we've marked off. Completely ignoring everything else. I've got it on high heat at this thicker section. You're going to start seeing it sweat, and you're going to start seeing the skin burn off. That happens a lot of times when it's green. Use your bench down here to prop the pole up, so not all the weight's being distributed on it. You don't have to hold it up with this hand. You just rest a lot of it on that bench back there. As you can see, the pole's getting shiny, it's starting to sweat. That's exactly what you want to see. You kind of see it starting to bubble up and a lot of moisture is coming out of there. You can also see some of that skin right there is starting to peel off. I'm going to want to have my tool here close, because very soon here we're going to shut this heat gun off really fast, set it down, and immediately get to straightening. Before we do it, we're going to raise it up to our cheek and really take a look down the pole and figure out exactly where we're going when it comes to bending it back. So what I'm going to do is look down the pole, twist it until I get it to where it needs to be, and then lock it in with this hand. And I'm going to put the straightening tool in my left hand, and we're going to crank it back while it's in this malleable state. Alright, we've given this whole inner node a nice toast. I'm going to raise it up just like this, look down it, put it right to your cheek, look down it, lock it in to where it's curving to the right. Lock it in with this arm, hold it close to it, twist this around, and we're going to crank it back. Not pressing too hard in one area, just spreading it out and slowly forcing that pole back to the left. And like I said, we're not worried about any other section of this pole except these 5 to 6 inches right here. You can feel it give when it's in this malleable state like this. You can really feel it give, but you don't want to crank it too far. I'm going to put it up to my eye, see how we're doing. Looks like we need to go a little bit further. I'm going to give it one more crank. It's good to have a nice solid stance when you do this. And lock it in here between your elbow and body. Get it real stable. And crank it back all the way through there. And we're going to counteract that bend that was going this way. We're going to curve it back this way. And when it dries, it's going to dry straight. You don't have long, you have a little window. I can already tell it's starting to cool down. And there's not near as much give. But while we still got it in this malleable state, I'm going to do a few little corrections. Let's take a look. And that's looking pretty darn straight to me. One more crank over. And we're going to call that good. That was an inner node section. From here, I would just do more inner nodes and come back and then do the nodes. But if you'll take a look down here, you can see all that right bend that was there has been taken out. All right, y'all, that's a wrap on the straightening video. We got us a nice finished pole. Every inch of this got straightened, and it's much straighter than it was. It's not perfect, but it's definitely going to fish this spring. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And we got one more video, and that's the lacquer video. We're going to put a protective coat on this. It's going to be a short video, and that's going to be it, y'all. We're going to have a full cane pole ready to fish this spring. If you guys have any questions or comments on the straightening process, leave those in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bamboo is a beautiful plant and a thrill to fish with. And I can't wait to put this to use this summer. Pull out some big bluegill, a bass, smallmouth bass, catfish, it don't matter. We're going to catch them all, and you can too if you make yourself a cane pole. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.